Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever you're listening to us. This is the first episode of To Raise a Child. Thank you for listening. I'm Neish Young. That's your cue.
Oh, you wanted me to say it. I figured you were going to introduce me.
But you know your name, so.
No. I'm Robert Young. I'm her husband, obviously.
Basically, we're starting this to...
Because we feel that it is important to give our perspective as parents in our generation, mid-30s, being raised the way that we were, which is another story in and of itself, but just to give our perspective and let people know how we think about things and how we raise our children, because we know that struggling on a day-to-day basis and not quite knowing what to do as parents happens just constantly in our lives, and it has for the past, for me, 14 years.
Yeah, it's just to know that no one's really alone, that we're all kind of fucked up, and that's
another thing. We swear a lot, so you have to forgive that.
Yeah.
You didn't even think about that one.
I didn't. Well, because I know me and I know you, and when I know that we all cuss, but just to kind of
prepare people.
Yeah.
This is an explicit podcast, not necessarily sexual in nature, but just in the aspect that we do tend to be more
use colorful language.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
But yeah, just to let everybody know who's listening that if you're a parent, that we're all in the same kind of boat, and it's kind of okay to be ambivalent sometimes about parenting and our fears and joys and everything else that comes with parenting.
Which is a lot, quite frankly.
Yeah. Just, kind of an outlet to say, you know what? I listen to them and I feel the same way about that situation.
Or you could go the other route with it and be like,
I fucking hate them.
Well, no, not necessarily that. Like, well, that's kind of going to be indicative too. We have children. We have 4 children. A 14-year-old boy, a 12-year-old daughter, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old son. What you just heard was the 4-year-old screaming in the background.
That's because that's what he does.
It tends to do that. What was I saying before that?
That's another thing with parenting. You start sentences and you don't get to finish those sentences.
Okay, I remember now. You were talking about how people could feel, like, oh yeah, that's me too. It could go the other way where they're like, oh, we're fucked up as parents, but not as fucked up as them. So
to make people feel better about themselves.
Exactly. Whatever you glean from this, that's fine. That's okay. You don't have to like us. You don't have to hate us. Just we're people like you, and we're trying to figure this shit out as we go.
There's no manual. I mean, I know there's books written on, how to raise kids, but there's no surefire way to do anything.
Those books are written from a certain person's perspective, just like this podcast is going to be done from our perspective. It doesn't mean one's right, one's wrong. It's different strokes for different folks, basically.
It's our
all
path.
Kids are not the same. All parents are not the same. All situations are not the same. We can only do our perspective and tell people our experience.
Yeah.
And that's just like with anything else. You can only go by what you know, not what somebody else is telling you should know.
Yes.
So.
But like we said, we do have 4 kids. Chris is 14, Kaylee is 12, Noe is 7, and Logan is 4.
He's about to be 5, as he will tell you constantly.
Yeah. So we have a full house. We do have a lot going on. There's never really a dull moment in this house.
Unless they're all playing video games, apparently.
Yeah, if they're playing video games, then we actually have some quiet time. As our kids get older, I know that our schedule will get more hectic.
And it has gotten more hectic.
Because, they want to join things and do things, and it's chaos on a constant basis. So
That's putting it very nicely.
extremely nice. But that's our norm. We know
Chaos.
Yeah. we know chaos.
We were just having that conversation not too long ago.
We were.
Well, it wasn't chaos, it was stress, but part and parcel, I think.
Tomato.
Yeah.
But, so we will be talking a lot with our kids. I think that we may have a couple episodes where they're on with us.
They're all also giving their perspective, because we remember what it was like to be kids, but we're so far removed from it at this point that we can't give an accurate depiction of what's really going on in a child's mind anymore.
Not for right now, no.
We can understand our kids, and I think we have a good grasp on understanding each one of the kids and their individual personalities and idiosyncrasies and all that shit, but we don't fully remember what it's like to be them anymore. Yeah,
we can have instances like first dates for kisses, first dances, first whatever the first may be, or how you feel when you get your heart broken, and we can put ourselves into that memory,
those general terms, and kind of remember, but we're still not in the process of going through all that.
To be an active teenager,
like
or
Chris,
preteen.
He's exactly 20 years removed from me. Like, I remember all of those things, but how much has time distorted since then? That type of thing.
Our memory is not the best thing. Okay, well, at least mine is.
I was about to say, speak for yourself. My memory's great. I think that bothers everybody, to be completely honest.
It does. Because
I've used it against people before.
Sometimes I feel crazy where it's like, well...
Is he making this shit up, or is he being serious right now?
So most of the time you are being serious, so...
And whenever I'm fucking with you, I tend to tell you almost immediately, hey, I was joking, not serious.
Yeah. But that's good. It's teamwork. Or TM work.
That's something else that we do.
We
make references to children's shows on a constant basis because we have 4 kids and we've heard so many stupid lines that it just kind of works its way into our lexicon on a daily basis.
It really does.
Especially the TM work, because we're not the only ones that do that.
No,
I've noticed
we're not.
That.
But, teach their own vocabulary, I guess. But...
Now, what do you see with this? Like, what do you want to get out of it?
I don't know, just a general release of feelings about any certain topic, to get not only our perspective, but I know that we're going to have other people on and see their perspective, and
providing we can actually get them on. I know one of them we're not going to have a problem with.
Yes. But just
more be convincing the other,
because for the past couple of years, it's been, I've been working on, like self-growth and self-knowledge. And I think that, and becoming better at expressing my feelings and talking about stuff instead of, bottling things up and then shaking up that bottle until the top explodes. Because that's my go-to.
So it's a carbonated beverage?
I am a carbonated beverage.
The wide bottom, of course.
Wide bottoms. No, but just to continue on that journey on a personal level and as a parent, to kind of learn from mistakes we may have made, mistakes that we saw our parents make, mistakes we've seen other people make, and to kind of bring that around and kind of shape ourselves into better people, better parents. Because I think, and me and you have had conversations like this, the more we know, the more valuable we are as people, as
employees,
parents,
partners, even.
Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just a release, getting feelings out, getting how I think about certain things out.
See, I think it could help in that aspect with us. Not just you, but with us, like actually being able to talk about the things that we're going through at the time. You know, because both of us have a problem with not necessarily sugarcoating everything, but not saying everything. And yes. I think this would make it more comfortable to just kind of talk and just see where the stream of consciousness takes you, and then see where you're at the end of it type thing. You know, and then, because we both feel better whenever we get shit off of our chest and we talk things out, as opposed to just holding on to the shit and it just eating us up.
Yeah, I think this would be a lot cheaper than therapy.
Actual therapy.
Granted, we aren't doctors. We have no degrees.
Absolutely not.
We don't know anybody who's a therapist. We don't know anybody who has that kind of degree. So,
do we?
No.
We like know lawyers.
We know lawyers, we know English degrees because, I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, don't start that shit.
I'm just leaving it at that. I am not saying anything negative. I'm just saying. But, so what are your goals or your want out of doing this?
Well, a lot of the same thing. You know, people always say that we're the ones, well, not always say, but you get the feeling that we're typically the people that people talk to. And, you know, and because we have a lot of different conversations with a lot of different people on a regular basis, just in life in general. And I've always felt like we're the ones that we could talk to anybody and have an open dialogue with anybody, and not necessarily change their minds on shit, but at least make them think a certain other way, or be like, oh, you know what, I didn't consider that. And then just we like helping people, basically, is what it boils down to.
We do.
And I'm not obviously getting too egotistical to think that, you know, we're going to help everybody or we're going to change the fucking world or anything like that. But just to try to give another perspective, or maybe not another perspective, just our perspective, and just do shit like that, you know, like help. Put something out there so people can listen to, so again, they can say, oh, well, we're fucked up, but not as fucked up as them, or, oh yeah, I think just like that, or whatever. Or even, okay, we talked about this before, podcasting. I listen to a lot of different podcasts, mostly wrestling podcasts, because, you know, I'm a wrestling nerd.
Yes.
I listen to Colt Cabana. I listen to Colt Cabana because I love hearing his stories, and like, before he changed the format, you know, he would talk to the wrestlers and you hear their story and shit like that. And you're still hearing the wrestlers' stories, but it's from a different perspective now, but I'm not getting into that. I also listen to Chris Jericho. He had that Flat Earth guy on it. I don't agree with Flat Earth at all, but I enjoyed listening to the podcast because of the banter back and forth, and it's presenting new information that I didn't know prior to. Or listening to somebody like Jim Cornette. I've loved Jim Cornette since I was a child. He's one of my favorite managers outside of like Bobby the Brain Heenan and sometimes Paul Heyman, but he just gets under my skin so much, and that's why I love him. But he's so, I guess, old school in the way that he thinks. I don't agree with 80% of what he says or thinks about the current state of professional wrestling. You know that, because we've had that conversation a million times. But I like the contrarian opinion.
Yes.
I like to see things from a different perspective, because some of the things that he said is like, okay, yeah, that does make sense, but I still think ABC. Or like his opinion on the Young Bucks. I absolutely love the Young Bucks. He hates them. I get why he hates them. I just don't agree with it. But that's just my opinion. But that's kind of what I want to do with this. I want not necessarily to be the contrarian or whatever, but just have another perspective or another avenue for somebody to get something out of it. You know,
yeah.
Regardless of what that may be, because it's going to be different for everybody. People might not even fucking listen to it. It really doesn't matter. It's
more for...
It's not just for us, but it's also to support other people.
Yes.
Because, you know, we have conversations with Jimmy and with Gabriel and Mandy and Ariel and Bubba and Crystal about our kids all the time. And about parenting and about what this one's going through, what that one's going through. And it's like, the whole reason we picked the name To Raise a Child is because it takes a village to raise a child.
It really does.
Like, we are the village. You know, the 8 of us collectively. Well, not just the 8 of us, because, you know, we also have my cousins and my sister and her significant other. I don't know what, boyfriend, I guess.
Yeah, we could use the term boyfriend.
But, like, we all talk about stuff like that.
And not only that, I think that the title of our show also goes to our inner child. Because not only are we raising our children,
we've been raising ourselves in this process as well.
Yes, exactly. We are helping nurture ourselves, our inner self, who we think we are as people, and
who we want to be as people.
Yeah, I mean, I may be 32, but you know,
we're just now starting to get a kind of an idea of this shit.
Who we want to be when we grow up, and I know that,
and we probably should have figured that out 10, 15 years ago, but.
Yeah, but you know, it doesn't always work out that way. Like we've talked about, things happen in their own time. They do not happen.
You mean things that I've talked about and made you listen to?
Well, that is not the exact point I was making because I don't want you to be right.
We bust each other's balls a lot.
Every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's entertaining to me.
It's
less entertaining to you.
Less entertaining for me. 100%. It's more irritating in the fact when you're right, to be honest.
Which is?
99.7% of the time.
I'm so glad I'm recording this. I have proof now.
I have, you know me, I know.
You don't like admitting it whatsoever.
I don't like to, but I am able to. I'm able to say I am wrong. I am able to say I don't know. I am able to say that.
That has not always been your policy. And it has not always been mine either. I fully admit that.
All right, as long as you admit that. See, we're both getting things that we want recorded. Just saying. We're putting it out there.
So, yeah. I forgot what the point was with that. We tend to do that a lot, too, where we just kind of drift off and like, oh.
No one's going to want to listen to this. Everybody's going to be like, why am I listening to these two idiots ramble?
It is on Scatter Mind, so it's kind of fitting if you really think about it.
We are just a bunch of scattered minds. We are. It's just, you start at point A, you go to point 25, and then you go to point C, back to point A.
Maybe. If you can remember where point A was in the first place.
Then you gotta stop, regroup.
We need to do breadcrumbs. I think that would help.
A little Hansel and Gretel.
Or actually, you know, I don't know, take notes while we're talking. That might help.
No. I don't think that would. We would do nothing but write notes then. We would just be like, okay, hold on. What were we? Oh, I need to wait. Hold on. Just wait. And I don't think that would be good for listening purposes at all.
Dead air's fine. Nobody really pays attention to it anyway.
I don't think anybody wants to listen to a podcast of just and dead air. That's not good at all. See, like that. That was not good.
I did that very much on purpose.
Oh, I know you did. I saw the look on your face.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you can see me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so why don't we get into what parenting means to us, specifically? Because we've kind of been all over the place on this so far.
Yes. Now, do you want to go first on what that means, or?
No, I want you to go first. I always talk first and the most, so.
Fair. That's fair.
I think everybody would agree with that. Like, yeah, Robert doesn't shut the fuck up. We know this.
See, but the thing is that in our group, a lot of us don't shut up.
That's not remotely true. Unless everybody's like...
I didn't say everyone. I said a lot of us don't shut up.
It's really you, me, Crystal, and Gabriel. Because
okay,
Bubba's
so
fairly
half of
quiet.
us.
Mandy's fairly quiet. Ariel's fairly quiet. Jimmy doesn't talk unless somebody starts poking him, which is usually Gabriel.
This is true.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway.
Another tangent. Okay, so what does parenting mean to you? And I think with that, you should kind of explain
my background.
Your background as to why you think the way you think. Because obviously we've had this conversation a million times, but I think giving people an insight into our lives and how we were raised would paint a better picture as to why we think the way we think now as parents going forward. I mean, obviously you don't have to get into graphic detail or anything, but
no, I wasn't going to.
General overview.
That's for another episode.
That's going to have to be for a totally different podcast.
We're going to have to make another one just for
parent issues.
Yeah, just issues. Ugh. Anyway, from somebody who never had a father around, and who did not have the most, I'm trying to be nice.
Stable?
Not having the most stable mother.
Well, I was going to say home life, but...
Or home life. Well, because I specifically said my father. I didn't have a father around, didn't have the most stable mother or home life. I went through a lot of things very early, and at a very early age, I was forced to become very grown. I
live more of an adult life as opposed to
the
child-teen existence.
I was not fully prepared, obviously, as a child to become an adult or be put in adult situations.
I don't think any of us really are.
Well,
but
yeah.
I get what you're saying.
But it just means that I have to evaluate where I came from, what I've been through, to make sure that we don't perpetuate cycles and toxic behavior and toxic parenting.
And disclaimer on that, it's not a lambasting our parents or anything like that.
No.
It's more of this is what we've been through. And it's not that our relationships with our parents are like that now.
Yeah, they're not good or bad. They just are.
Yeah. But
this honestly,
this is just from our perspective and how we feel on the situation. It's not painting anybody, trying to paint anybody in a bad light or anything like that. And I don't want anybody to take anything away from that. I don't want anybody to think that, oh, well, they're just bashing their parents. And it's not that whatsoever. It's just a matter of opinion from our perspective as the kids in those situations.
Well, no, because if I were to call my mom now and say, I do the things I do because I don't want to perpetuate toxic notions, she would say 100%.
Well, yeah.
So
but that's what I mean. It's not the same relationship anymore because we're grown now, and obviously it's not the same issues that we were dealing with as kids.
Well, of course not. But that's I know that the new generation of children are different than we were. Obviously, they it's a very PC world. It's a very sheltered world, and I do want to shelter our children at the same time, but I do want them to be raised with
a certain old school value.
Yeah. Our children are not disrespectful. Our children are not.
They're very yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes or no, sir.
Very old school.
Please and thank you.
Yes.
Manners are very big in our household. And you wouldn't think it looking at us with the way that we are.
I mean, we may
look a certain way.
Yeah, we may look a certain way. We have tattoos, gauges. We say fuck a lot. But we still have manners and
we were still raised with respect, even with the certain things happening in our childhood and all
100%. But that's what being a parent is to evaluate where we came from and to build on that, not to tear our parents down or say they did a shit job or anything like that. I'm just saying
all of that is debatable.
Jury's still out, but just to build on that and to become better parents and to kind of, not be a maverick and like make new ways, in the parenting field.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. I mean, but just to build and become better. That's, be not necessarily live vicariously through our children or do anything dumb like that.
I think we do, all of us do that to a certain extent. Like, okay, example. Kaylee started wanting to play violin, be in orchestra, music and all that. You got super stoked about that because you were a band nerd growing up.
Yeah, but I'm not living vicariously
But that's what I'm saying. It's not like you were not pushing them to do certain things.
No.
But I think we are all living vicariously through our children in some form or fashion.
Just to be the parents that, or be raised or have certain situations handled differently than they were handled when we were growing up. Just to be better. Like, just to be better parents. Just to learn from past mistakes or what we were around as children. That's, and it may sound like I was just shitting all over my mom. But, when she...
I think she would agree with you on certain aspects of that because you've had conversations with her since then.
Yes.
And she understands more of where you're coming from now whenever we've had certain situations arise.
Yes. And, and to her credit, when she got pregnant with me, she did better than what she had. And it's just to
it's all
try.
A learning process.
It's
and
a ladder.
And that's what everybody should be trying to do is like do a little bit better than the last generation.
Yeah.
Leave it a little bit better than you found it type situation.
No one's going to be perfect. No one's, we're all going to handle certain situations in a shit way and we're going to feel bad about it later. And maybe immediately.
I feel like that was directed towards me.
No, that's towards everyone. Not in just parenting, but just in life.
In general, yeah.
Shit happens and, but that's what parenting, that's why I feel it's important to evaluate yourself as a parent. Just like if you were your own boss, you don't have a corporate hierarchy.
You have to be a self-starter and you have to be able to analyze what you're doing.
Honestly, you have to do it honestly. You can't be delusional and like, I'm the shit. I'm doing the best job ever. I am doing this super great. No, you have to be realistic about it and be like, look, okay, in this department, I'm doing all right. I could work on point A, B, and C. At this one, I'm not doing so great. Maybe I should stop, reevaluate, and
figure out a better way to do it.
More efficient way,
increase efficiency, basically. I hate breaking it down that corporate, but...
Me too, but it is a job. It's a non-paying job for some ungodly reason.
I wish we got paid for this.
But it's a job. So, just to be a better parent. I think that's what parenting means, is just to be as good as you can be and to always grow and always
try to strive for something better.
Something better.
Basically.
And,
Well, okay, like I know we've obviously, again, had many conversations on the topic. My perspective of it is a little bit different than yours because we had some of the same experiences and, some of the same feelings towards our mothers. Both of us didn't grow up with our fathers. So we have that in common. But
you did have more of a family structure.
I grew up mainly with my grandmother and grandfather. You know that.
Yes.
And I was raised, for all intents and purposes, as the fourth child of Ray and Mary Pena. Period. Like, that's the way I look at it. And that, again, that's not taking anything away from Mom. It was just that's the way it worked out. I grew up with them as my mom and dad more so than anybody else in my life. So I had that stable family structure, although it came and gone at certain times in my life.
Yeah. And you also have the extended family structure, which I do not have.
Yeah, I still have my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and stuff like that, which you kind of got pulled away from because y'all moved around so much. So I at least had that static family thing. I don't know what to call it. The family structure, basically, is what it boils down to. And I always grew up with my cousins. I always grew up essentially with my sister, but there's an 11-year age gap, just like with you and your brother.
Yes.
So, I mean... we didn't really grow up with siblings, but we did at the same time.
Yeah.
So my perspective is more of our parents' generation than our generation, I would think. Just based on the way that I was raised, based on the fact that I was raised by my grandparents, essentially. So I have more of my mom and my aunt's perspective than the perspective I should have had as a grandchild. And grandma and grandpa, you've heard them say that. Like, I never got the benefit of being the grandson, you know, because I didn't have my dad's side of the family, but my mom's side of the family was raising me. So I was spoiled. You know that. You can hear, everybody will tell you that knew me. You know, because you hear all the stories. Mandy knows it because she was around some of it. Fucking Gabriel and Jimmy grew up with me, so they will not let me say that I am not spoiled, because I was, to a certain extent.
Was?
Fine. I'm still spoiled to a certain extent.
Yes, you are.
Motherfucker. But I forgot what my point was with that.
Trying to input your perspective on being a parent.
Oh, yeah. And we do. I was spoiled. I'll admit that to a certain extent. But I didn't get the grandparent spoiling that most kids get. You know, and again, you didn't really go through that because the moving and all that stuff. But everybody else, to me, whenever I was growing up, got to say that they had the awesome grandparents, and they did this over summer vacation, and they did that, and blah, 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 blah. And I did a little bit of that. But
since your grandparents were essentially your parents,
from the point that they started raising me, it was not like that, because essentially they got thrown into raising another child whenever they hadn't planned for it at all. They had done their time with their kids. Whenever I came along, Teresa was already 18. She was almost out the house, almost graduated, all that shit. So they had already done their time. The other two girls were already out of the house, being Mom and Maria. And then essentially I came along out of nowhere. And
boom, another life sentence.
Essentially. And that's what it boiled down to. And I didn't fully appreciate the sacrifices that they made. I just looked at it as I got less than everybody. And I think you felt like that too, to a certain extent.
100%.
Because I remember even being young in like 3rd, 4th grade and just like, why don't I have a dad? And I remember asking that question to my mom very specifically. It was one of the times I was actually living with Mom. And it just, I didn't really think about it until we started having this conversation. It's like, that really affected me. And I don't know why it affected me, because it was just daily life. Because
we weren't part of the norm.
The norm, quote unquote.
You know, we didn't have mom and dad living at home, and they work, and, you know, the normal, quote unquote, style of living. We lived in a very, especially when we were, you know, we were born, we were, you know, mid 80s, you know, single parents. Yeah, obviously they were a thing. They've always been a thing.
It just wasn't as prevalent.
It wasn't as prevalent.
Yeah.
You know, so of course that's going to affect you.
Just hadn't really thought about it. To be completely honest.
See, and that's another thing. Just self-realization. Another point of this.
But I guess the point with all that is I at least got to see what a stable family structure should be at some point, because I had grandma and grandpa and I got to see them interact with each other. I learned so much from just watching how they handled situations, and they both handled the same situation completely differently. Like whenever I would act out, grandma would try to give me the love and just the support and say, look, I'm here for you, basically. Like, if you need me, just, like, say something, do something, and we'll figure this shit out. Whereas grandpa was more the authoritarian, like, no, you need to fix this shit right now, because this is bullshit and you shouldn't be acting like this. I agree with both methods.
Yes.
But I tend to be more of the latter as opposed to the former. I let you handle the love shit because I'm not exactly the best with emotions outside of anger. I've worked on that. Fuck off.
You You have.
But I know how to be the hard hand. I know how to be the firm one and say, look, no, this is not okay. This is what you need to be doing. We need to fix it. How do we need to fix it? And not necessarily as hard as Grandpa was on me or whatever. I mean, he wasn't like super hard on me, obviously. Because, I mean, I'm still here and I'm not pushing up daisies because he beat the shit out of me or something. But just to be that. I like being the strict one, I guess. And I never thought that would happen to me in life. I mean, you've heard Teresa talk about it. Like, oh, I can't believe you ended up like this as a parent. Not making fun of it, but just like, you always said that you were just going to kind of let your kids do whatever the fuck and let them raise themselves type thing. And just, once I got into it, it's like, it's not going to work.
That's not the best way to go.
The hands-off parenting, I just don't get. I've never understood that.
No, I don't get it either. So basically, you're just trying to build on...
I'm trying to build on the foundation that
you were provided.
Grandma and Grandpa provided me with, more than anything. And again, that's not a slight against Mom. It's just, we've always talked about there are certain people that are more apt to raise children than others. Exactly. And again, that's not a slight. It's just that's... And
not saying that we are 100% apt to have children.
We are absolutely not. I was definitely not ready. I was 20 years old whenever Chris was born. I had literally just turned 20 4 days before Chris was born. Yeah. I was not mentally, emotionally, financially prepared for that to happen.
To be fair, no one's ever truly financially...
And I agree. But see, at the time, I didn't know that. You know, and it's just like, as I've gotten older, I've realized that. And we've got 4 kids now, and it's just that much more that I wasn't ready for. But you can either take those, not disadvantages, I don't want to call them disadvantages, but you can take those challenges and those hardships, and you can let them break you and you crumble, or you can take those and use them as a catalyst to do something better, to build something from there. You know, you can take it as a learning experience, and I hate saying that because, again, that sounds like fucking corporate speak, but it's true. You know, you can take all of that is put on you and piled on you and then use it to make the life that you want. It's all about choices that you make.
And perception.
And that's something that I learned from Grandpa. You know, it's you can do all of his thing was you can do all of these stupid things and it's going to lead you down this path. Or you can basically pull your head out of your ass and realize that if you do it this way, it'll be the path of least resistance. And you'll be a lot happier if you do it this way.
Yeah.
But he never completely forced me to go one way. There's things that he wanted me to do and wanted me to accomplish. Same with Grandma. Like, I'm sure they probably wished we were more involved in, like, religion and church and all that. Which we are not.
No.
But they, at the same time, understand as parents that, you know what, we're not going to agree with everything that they do, but it is ultimately their life, and they are going to be the people and parent the way that they want to and the way that works for them. And as long as it's not causing anybody any harm and everybody's, you know, growing and progressing
and happy
is the key point of that. What difference does it make? You know, and with as conservative as they have been my entire life, it really surprises me that they are like that. And that's not taking anything away from them. It's just, I'm honestly surprised that they are not more overbearing. Like, I figured they would be at this juncture in my life, but they're not. They're like I am. They're very laid back and just, okay, you do what you need to do. If you need anything, we're here.
I think that may come with age, too.
Well, no, I think it was just a fear of mine whenever I was younger, to be honest. Like, I never had any real basis for that because they never did that to Mom or Maria or Teresa whenever they were my age and having kids and doing all that stuff. But it was just one of those, I guess, just irrational fears that I had in my head that I didn't really know what was going to happen, you know. But I guess I never wanted to disappoint them is what it boiled down to. So I had that thing in the back of my head saying, oh yeah, you're going to fuck this up just like you fucked everything else up.
But that just comes with our level of neuroses.
Ugh. I'm over that too.
Yeah. So if you're still listening,
everybody stopped listening 20 minutes ago.
Probably. But this is kind of where we're going to go with this. So yeah, we may not make a lot of sense, but at least we'll be somewhat entertaining.
If nothing else, the banter is usually pretty entertaining to people. People like watching us interact, if for no other reason than they get a good laugh out of it.
This is true. This is really true. So hopefully you semi-like what you hear, and that, you know, you'll come back and listen to other episodes of ours. We were really excited to kind of not necessarily be like a self-help or, you know, advice column.
We don't really have a genre that we're trying to fit into.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's about parenting, but, you know, we're going to talk about a lot of different shit just because that's who we are.
It's mainly parenting.
It's mainly parenting.
But as I'm sure people have noticed listening to this, we tend to go on tangents.
Well, we try to ring it back in.
It's the natural progression of a conversation, and that's what I've always prided us on. It's like we just kind of go wherever the convo takes us, and we don't really shy away from anything.
We try to loop back around, though, and get it.
Eventually, but sometimes it's just kind of open-ended and like, yeah, that's it.
So, with that being said, thank you very much for, you know, for listening and for taking time out to listen to our bullshit. Please come back and listen some more. We have some really cool things coming. I think we have some really good ideas of future podcasts that we're gonna, you know, hit a lot of different topics and a lot of unusual lifestyle choices that we've made. Not necessarily, not like too crazy unusual, but anyway, if you want, you know, follow us on Twitter. It's at To Raise a Child. Robert and I both are admins on that, so we'll both tweet out, you know, any questions that you may have for us later on down the line. Feel free to message or, you know, tweet.
Any feedback.
If
you want us to go tell us to fuck ourselves, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, you guys are shit. Please stop talking.
If I'm the one that sees it, I'm probably going to reply to it.
I will too, but it'll just be like the very sad streaming tear face emojis. Just over and over again. And also anything Scattermine related. Go ahead, feel free.
Go to the Podbeam.
Yeah,
we're
Podbeam.
On Stitcher. We're on iTunes. I think Jimmy said he's working on Spotify.
I think he is working on Spotify. But, you know, if we're not your gig, that's fine.
Oh, and YouTube. Scattermine CST on YouTube.
Yes.
Everything will be up there as well. If you don't want to do the subscribe thing and all that stuff to the other websites, you can find us on YouTube and just watch it like normal.
Yeah. So, like I said, thanks for joining us, and we hope that you guys come back.